It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on September 12, 2008. Good movies, finally. We're finally getting back to some good films after 2 really lousy weeks. And we have a couple of really good films this week. Not everyone is a winner, but they're certainly going to be much more enjoyable than Disaster Movie, Babylon AD, or Bangkok Dangerous, or College, if you want to include those in there. But with all that said, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that's the Coen Brothers' follow-up to their Oscar-winning Best Picture the year before, No Country for Old Men. A much different movie than No Country for Old Men, a black comedy called Burn After Reading.
Last year, the Coen Brothers took you on a dangerous journey in No Country for Old Men. On September 12th,
Stop the foolishness.
they'll take you on a journey
Where's the money? He didn't give it to me.
where national security meets total stupidity.
Give me the CD and I'll be the money.
After Reading, rated R, starts September 12th.
And this is indeed a black comedy because it gets dark when it needs to, and it's pretty damn hilarious, just like the rest of the movie is. You have a story about a recently jobless CIA analyst played by John Malkovich, whose misplaced memoirs are found by a pair of dim-witted gym employees played by Frances McDormand and Brad Pitt. When they mistake the memoirs for classified government documents, they undergo a series of misadventures in an attempt to profit from their find. The film also stars George Clooney as a womanizing UK marshal, Tilda Swinton as Katie Cox, the wife of John Malkovich's character, Richard Jenkins as the gym manager, and J.K. Simmons as a CIA supervisor. And it just goes all over the place in terms of its craziness, its ridiculousness. This is a movie that knows exactly that it is a stupid movie, but a fun stupid movie. I mean, the performances in here are so well done. George Clooney, people forget that George Clooney can be really fucking funny if you give him the right material to work with. I mean, like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Hail Caesar is another great one. You know, when he can do comedy really well, and I think a lot of people overlook that. And here, he has really good timing with the comedic timing in this movie here, and I'll get to that in just a second. But you know, Frances McDormand's very fun to watch in here. So's John Malkovich. So's Tilda Swinton. Brad Pitt is hilarious in the movie, and Brad Pitt has maybe the funniest death scene I have seen in a long, long time. And it involves George Clooney, again, with that great comedic timing. The ending of the movie where Brad Pitt gets killed by him, and George Clooney, the performance he gives is one of the greatest, funniest performances I've seen from him in terms of comedy. Like, he really sells it, and, like, what's great about what he does is that he kills him, and then he's completely shocked and all, and it's just like, what the hell were you doing in my closet? And, like, the way he plays it, and the way he portrays it, it just plays so well to the film's advantages, and it just works so well. It's such a really fun movie. It's not the smartest story-wise, but it doesn't need to be, because everybody's having a good time with it. It's the Coen Brothers doing what the Coen Brothers do so well. I love this movie, man. It's a very good movie. Maybe one of their more underrated films, because once it came out, a couple years after it came out, it kind of slipped off to the side. Nobody really ever talks about it anymore, but it's a good film. It's a really damn good film. If you have not seen Burn After Reading, definitely check it out, because it is definitely worth it. It's worth the watch indeed. So that's Burn After Reading, so let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here. Tyler Perry is back with a new film. This is The Family That Prays.
I am tired of her looking down her nose at us like we didn't live in the same neighborhood. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now.
This is your sister. We know y'all gonna start acting like it.
In every family,
This is your daughter's wedding.
Everything's gonna be fine. You just relax.
there is good
Mrs. Cartwright paid for the wedding.
Look at you. You look beautiful.
You sure you want to do this?
I love that girl.
and there is bad.
What are your plans after graduation?
Looking for a job, I guess.
Give me a call. I'm sure we can find a position for you.
Okay.
There are the ties that bind.
William, meet Miss Abigail Dexter. She thinks she can take this company global.
I thought you were considering me for that position.
Why on earth would you think that?
Because I'm your son. I was thinking about starting my own construction company.
What you need me for?
A little bit more faith, brother.
There are the mistakes we make.
You don't trust me?
It's not you I don't trust, darling. It's your private thoughts that give me pause.
Yeah, surely nothing will go wrong there with that storyline. But the story here is that you have two families, one wealthy and the other working class, whose lives are intertwined in both love and business. So now Lathan is sleeping around with Cole Hauser. Kathy Bates has a storyline going on with Alfie Woodard, and it's just, I mean, it's a complicated movie. It's a film where you can see Tyler Perry doing what worked with his other movies, like Daddy's Little Girls and Why Did I Get Married. He's trying to have the focus be more on the characters and their situations, and at times that works in something like Why Did I Get Married. But in a movie like this, it just gets way too complicated for its own good. The performances overall aren't bad. Alfre Woodard's pretty good in here. Kathy Bates, I mean, they're not going to turn in bad performances. Rockman, I think Rockman Dunbar is his name, the guy who plays Sanaa Lathan's husband in this. He's pretty good in here too, and Tyler Perry can be pretty decent as an actor too. People forget about him. But the thing that really kind of irks me about the movie is the Sanaa Lathan storyline, where she has the affair with Cole Hauser, and the fact that she's just basically bad-mouthing her husband because he wants to have this dream of opening up his own construction company, and he's just like, well, it doesn't well, who cares what you have to say? Why don't you be more like the person that I'm sleeping with? I'm not going to tell you that I mean, even though they're putting it freaking out in the open, but they get she gets her comeuppance in the end, because boy, this movie basically says, yeah, fuck you, bitch. Like, she has Alzheimer's disease. It's an early case of Alzheimer's disease. It said the affair gets revealed, so they basically have to fire her. Meanwhile, Rockman Dunbar's character, his construction company takes off and all that, and he becomes more successful than her. Like, she goes from being this top CEO in this company to being somebody who's literally working in the slums and all that. It's just like, I mean, karma gets on Sanaa Lathan in this movie big time, and it's funny, but at the same time, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's kind of a ridiculous storyline in general, but I mean, I guess you could. I mean, like I said, it's karma for her because yeah, she treats her husband like garbage in this movie, but the film itself as a whole is just, it's not that great of a film overall, but it's at least an effort by Perry. It's at least an effort that's trying to be something not like the Medea movies. It's him trying to branch out and do other things outside of those Medea comedies. And on the one hand, I'll give him credit for trying to do something like this, but it just doesn't work as well as something like Why Did I Get Married? I think Why Did I Get Married, I think, is a film that does this much better. I think something like Daddy's Little Girls and what was the one I was just saying before? Which one was it? I just had it. I couldn't remember it. Okay, maybe it was just those two, because I'm thinking of movies after this, but no, I said Daddy's Little Girls and Why Did They Get Married? Those films kind of worked because it was him doing something that didn't have to involve Medea. It involved characters that you kind of got attached to. You don't really get attached to anybody in here except for Alfre Woodard and Kathy Bates. I think they're the only two that really come out of this relatively unscathed and actually kind of have a lot more to it. Everybody else just kind of feels like you're just waiting for them to get their comeuppance, the bad people, and you want the good people to get past these troubles and, succeed in their own way. And you get that, but it just doesn't work as a whole. It's a kind of forgettable movie overall, so a very mixed opinion on it, leaning more towards not recommending it to recommending it, because even the stuff I like about it, it's not enough to carry the film overall. And I think Tyler Perry's done a lot better than this, so mixed opinion on The Family That Prays. So with all that said, let us go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Righteous Kill.
Fisk, detective first grade. I've been a cop for over 30 years. You don't become a cop because you want to serve and protect. You join the force because they let you carry a gun and a badge.
What? Between the eyes.
A legendary team. Respected and feared.
You think I won't blow your head off? I wouldn't think twice about it.
Most people respect the badge. Everybody respects the gun.
Struggle? A forced entry?
Hey, nobody wants to hear about your private life, Officer Corelli.
I am forced to dismiss all charges of rape and assault.
When you walk outside, watch your back. Get him out of here before somebody passes sense on him.
Number 12 and counting. But now,
These guys are all scumbags. Whoever's doing this gets real close, leaves no fingerprints, and obviously takes pride in his work.
they've lost the one thing that made them untouchable.
Anyone gonna say it?
Trust in each other.
Okay, so in some ways you can see kind of the pros and the cons of this movie in particular, but Here you have a story where you have Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. They play two aging New York Police Department detectives and longtime partners, hunting for a serial killer who is murdering sociopathic criminals. They both have personal issues, and when they start working with a younger investigation team, Perez and Riley, Perez being played by John Leguizamo and Riley played by Donnie Wahlberg. Had to remember the names there, but tensions between the two teams are inevitable, especially since Turk is now living with Perez's ex-girlfriend, also a homicide detective played by Carla Gugino. And 50 Cent is somebody who comes in as sort of a drug lord, kind of, but not really. But, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons to this. The big thing that this movie was selling itself on was the fact that this is Al Pacino and Robert De Niro working together for the first time ever, even though they were both in The Godfather Part 2 before this, even though they weren't in the same scene. And they were in the same scenes in Heat, but for about less than 5 minutes. But, I mean, technically, the advertising was kind of lying to you, but this is both of them together on the big screen in one movie. And that alone kind of makes it kind of cool in its own rights. And to the film's credit, they are the best things about the movie. They're the ones who are giving this their all. They're elevating this to a whole nother level to make it worth it. The acting overall is pretty good. Where the film really falls apart, though, is with the mystery itself. The mystery about who's killing all these criminals. The mystery of who's doing this, of who's the double crosser within the police department. You can kind of figure it out right from the get-go. And that really kind of ends up being the major flaw of the movie. This is directed by John Avnet, who also directed Pacino earlier in the year in 88 Minutes, which that film was another movie that had a good concept overall, but just bad execution and a really lame twist. This one's not as bad as that one, but at the same time, you kind of expect a whole lot more for it, especially with the movie they were really hyping up to be the next great crime film. And it just isn't that. I think the performances overall do carry it to a level where I could say it's worth watching to see De Niro and Pacino together. I mean, it's worth it just to watch them do what they do best. The performances overall, I think, aren't that bad. It's just the story overall. It's pretty bland and pretty generic. It's something that you can kind of see coming a mile away. Definitely a very flawed film, but overall, I thought it was alright. I think it's definitely a film worth checking out if you like seeing De Niro and Pacino in movies like this. I think it's definitely worth it, but you're not going to want to watch it multiple times after you're done watching it. If we're being honest, it's probably one of the better things that come out of Overture films, honestly, because we've looked at some of their movies so far, and most of them have been pretty garbage. But this one is the first real one that I would say, okay, this one kind of works, but not really. But, so yeah, that's my thoughts on Righteous Kill. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last film we have here, and that is The Woman.
Well, I might as well tell you, I'm eating for two.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Oh, my God.
What's happening?
Edie's knocked up again.
Ooh.
I want to keep going until I get a boy.
Don't we have enough of those?
Mrs. Hayes. I just don't know how you manage all the things in your life and still make time for your charitable work.
Oh, pharmaceuticals.
Oh. Edie, I wasn't going to say anything, but Mary is like my sister. This is in the vault, right? Stephen is having an affair.
Oh, my God.
Get out of here. He's fooling around with some woman who works behind the perfume counter.
The spritzer?
Yeah, can you believe that?
Wow. She is fine.
Jeez, Alex, not now.
How's she taking it?
She doesn't know.
What do you mean she doesn't know? We're in the vault. She's not in the vault. You need to drag her ass into the vault.
Mary, there's a reason why we are all here with you today.
Oh, is this about the perfume bitch?
Oh! You knew and you didn't tell me? Now, honest to God, Mary, I'm so hurt.
You? This isn't happening to you. This is happening to me.
I heard what happened. I ordered you a gimlet. I know you don't drink in the afternoon, but you will eventually, so why not start now?
Steven.
What if I cook us a romantic dinner tonight?
The big white square thing with the fire coming out of it is the stove.
Mary, she's here, in the dressing room across the hall.
What?
Now, I'm giving you permission to behave badly. You go in there and kick her out.
Mary is a friend of ours. You better stop it. Stop it.
I'm so sorry that I won't be able to stay longer, but my water just broke.
You know your movie is pretty bad when loud screaming is your source of comedy. I mean, from the creator of Murphy Brown, ladies and gentlemen, how low can you possibly sink in 20 years after Murphy Brown? I mean, my God, that trailer is awful, and the movie is pretty bad too. It's funny, when I remember when Spill.com was around, I was a member on that site. I was a member on one of the fans on that site, and when I talked about this movie not being so good, one person got on me for saying that I shouldn't criticize this movie because it's a remake of a classic 1930s movie, which, okay, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I mean, yeah, the original, it's probably a good movie, but yeah, I don't think this movie would have worked in 1939 if it was, and if it had scenes like that at the end of the trailer for it. Like, I don't get it whatsoever. But to her New York society friends, Mary Haines, played by Meg Ryan, is the perfect woman. She is kind, considerate, and is able to balance her work life as a designer for her father's family business, with her role as loving wife of 13 years to renowned Wall Street businessman Stephen Haines and mother to preteen Molly Haines, all the while still being able to do volunteer work. But slowly the problems in Mary's life, which she was previously unaware of, starts to show themselves. Instead of her father handing over the family business to her as she expects, he instead fires her, believing her work is not of quality since she is spreading herself too thinly over all that she does. Worse, she finds that Stephen is cheating on her with a gold-digging sax perfume counter girl named Crystal Allen, played by Eva Mendes, of which her core group of friends are aware. As she still loves Stephen, Mary has to figure out what to do, with much advice from those friends and her mother, Candice Bergen. Of course, you gotta have her because she's Murphy Brown, who knows more about what she's going through than Mary would have suspected. As Mary deals with the issues wallowing in her self-pity, her best friend since college, magazine editor Sylvie Fowler, played by Annette Bening, is facing her own personal problems, which impacts what happens to Mary. It isn't until Mary meets agent Leah Miller at a retreat that Mary begins to figure out what she truly wants in her life, how to achieve it, and what part she played in the cause of her problems, not only with Stephen. And, I hate to say this because I like all the people that are involved in here. I mean, I think it's good to have a movie with as many talented women that you have in here. Meg Ryan, Annette Bening, Ava Mendes, Deborah Messing, Jada Pinkett Smith, Bette Midler, Candice Bergen, Carrie Fisher, Cloris Leachman, Debbie Mazur. You see Anna Gasteyer there, Joanna Gleason, Lynn Whitfield. So many talented people in this movie, but they're given absolutely nothing to do. I mean, this feels like the same people that made Sex and the City, except it's not as obnoxious or as annoying as Sex and the City. Yeah, I know the end of that trailer was rough, but I mean, at least this one was at least tolerable. This one was at least tolerable, but not enough for me to say it's a good movie whatsoever. I don't even really know who the appeal of this movie is. I mean, this is a movie that's mainly focusing on the same Sex and the City audience, which I've talked about before. You know, maybe the same audience that watches 80 for Brady, where they're not really paying attention to the movie, they're gabbing with their girlfriends while they're watching the movie, and don't care about what's going on here. But even the men that's going to get dragged to this, because you see a scene where, oh, Meg Ryan and Ava Mendes are in lingerie, it's got to look sexy, right? Well, no. You want to see that scene? There you go. I just gave you an opportunity to not watch this movie because, like, they're not even dressed sexy whatsoever. This is the type of sexy that that the people who write this movie write for Lifetime movies and what they think is sexy lingerie. Like this is like that's not even real. It's like none of that looks good looking on anybody. Like it just looks like. It looks like the in between what the Victorian lingerie that people used to wear and the kind that women wear nowadays. I mean, it just doesn't work. It just does not work, and the movie itself does not work at all. The comedy is lazy. They waste all these talented women on a script that is so badly put together, and they're all in this because this is the woman that made Murphy Brown. And I'm sorry, like I love Murphy Brown. I love that show back in the day. This ain't no Murphy Brown, and everybody in this movie should be really ashamed of themselves for agreeing to this. I mean, this is just an insulting film. Like, I never saw the original The Women, but I'm probably not sugarcoating this when I say that movie is probably much better, much smarter than what it was trying to accomplish, and much more enjoyable than anything from this pile of garbage here. Everybody in this movie is a much more talented actress than the material given to them, and they can't elevate this to a level where it's worth it in the end. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible film. it's so bad that you don't even get to see the guy that Meg Ryan's character was married to. Steven never shows up in this goddamn movie, and like, why not have him in there? Like, why not have guys in there so the males can have something to connect with? Give the guys that are going on these dates is to this movie something to get attached to. And this movie can't do that. This movie is too lazy and thinks that just because you got all these gifted women in here, that's the thing that's going to carry this movie to the next level. And it's just not, man. It's just a lousy, lousy movie. It's a terrible film. It does not work in any way, shape, or form. It sucks. It's a sucky movie that wasted so much talent across the board here. Everybody the people who greenlit this film should be ashamed of themselves for doing this, because everybody in here deserves much better work than this pile of garbage here. This is a pile of garbage movie. The women, avoid this one like the plague, please. And so, on that positive note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Time About the Movies. But next time we meet, we've got 6 movies to look at for the third weekend of September 2008. We have Samuel L. Jackson starring in Lakeview Terrace from the director of The Wicker Man. We have Dane Cook's latest and last film under Lionsgate with Jason Biggs, Kate Hudson, and Alec Baldwin, My Best Friend's Girl. Another studio that's trying to capitalize on Disney and DreamWorks' success with MGM entering the CG animated fold with Igor, with John Cusack starring in the role of Frankenstein's assistant in this, Dr. Frankenstein's assistant, and a Frankenstein's monster. Ricky Gervais starring in the most underrated comedy of the year, probably, Ghost Town, with Taya Leone and Greg Kinnear among the cast. We have Ed Harris directing a very underrated Western, Appaloosa, and Keira Knightley starring in The Duchess. So we've got 6 films to look at next time around. A couple of really good underrated gems in this episode coming up here, so be on the lookout for that tomorrow. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. That's when you get updates on when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.